Getting into Ben's ice bath in Costa Rica.
There it is. Ooh, it's icy in there today.
Man, that podcast was amazing. Ben Cecchini is the man. He's sharing, he's giving back to his community in Costa Rica. Nosara, Costa Rica is a phenomenal podcast. We're talking about breathwork. We're talking about social issues. We're talking about men's mental health. We're talking about basketball. We hit full circle skills for children. Ben has helped 40,000 plus kids in the last 3 years. Just incredible work. Enjoy this podcast. I know I had a good time with the conversation. I hope you do too. All right, Ben Cecchini, the sniper, the bridge, the sniper.
We're heavy chilling out here. You ready to do some breath?
Absolutely.
All right, man. So just lean back, relax. We won't even focus on a straight spine right now. Just start just feeling the breeze. Feeling the sun on our bodies. Hearing the waves. Feeling the chair, the ground supporting us. Feeling that chair on your back too, just feeling this whole body activation. And whenever you're ready, just go ahead and let out a long exhale through your mouth, just as long as you can. Push it all the way out, belly button starting to push towards your spine. Pause at the bottom. Tap into the present moment with this new feeling of empty. And then whenever that next breath comes, just allow it to come in through your nose, filling your belly, filling your chest. And pausing on the full inhale. Once again, feeling it all, connecting with all this beautiful nature around us. Connecting with whatever feeling of gratitude, whatever thoughts of gratitude are here for you. Allowing your breathing to return to normal. Just grateful.
Much gratitude.
Yes.
I appreciate that. So simple, so easy to get tapped
100%.
in. That's great. Well, everyone, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever this conversation finds you. I am Travis Gray. This is Gray Transforms. Special edition. We're in Costa Rica, baby. And I got my man, Ben the Bridge Cecchini, the sniper. My man, Ben. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation.
100%.
So I met Ben at a Haka brotherhood, Haka men's group activity that happened in LA.
Venice Beach.
Venice Beach, how many years ago was this?
6.
6 years, maybe 5-6 years ago. That's the Rising Man movement. The brother Jetty Azuma, right? Jetty Azuma. So thank you, brother, for connecting the brothers always. Love the men's work. So that's how we got connected, was this men's work group. We connected a little bit at the Haka event. We learned that Haka. Maybe after this we'll do a little Haka for you. Is it drilled into your memory?
Pretty much.
It's drilled into my memory. We only did this one day. It is absolutely drilled into my memory. Right?
Yeah, man, my thighs were red as they're probably about to be after this sunburn.
Right? Yeah, they're about to be red. Yeah, they were so red. That was a really cool event. Do you remember that guy that came by and like
acted like he knew the Haka better than the New
yeah,
Zealanders.
yes, I do.
What was this guy doing? There was a group of New Zealanders, and man, I'm actually forgetting. Haka for the heart, is it?
Potentially, it's still been a while.
It's
man.
pretty close. Haka for the heart, something like that. But and I don't even remember the other brother's name. But rest in peace, Jamie. Mm-hmm. So this whole organization was developed because in New Zealand there, and just all over the world, we have a lot of men that are committing suicide. They're having a lot of mental health issues, not having a lot of people to talk to about these mental health issues, especially not having another group of men to talk to about these issues. And unfortunately, our good friend Jamie, he had passed away from similar, mental health crises, and it can get to any of us. So we need each other. Men, 100%. We need each other. Humans, we need each other.
Yeah, and even for Jamie, he was the leader of this experience that we had, and he did commit suicide, right? Yeah. And so it's kind of wild that then that sort of thing happens even to the people that are in this work supporting others in their journeys. Like, it can be heavy and dark for everybody, so make sure you're checking in on people that you love and care about, or just being kind.
1,000%. And you do lots of different modalities of work with groups and things over the years. I've been a part of a lot of the things that you have done. And, I myself am clinically trained as a counselor, as a counseling psychologist, so a psychotherapist. And there's so much expectation for a facilitator to just have it all together, all your mental health, just to be so perfect. And there's a lot of that same stigma, that same social stigma for just men in general, to be so hard and strong and emotionless.
Yeah, emotionless.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we have each other. I'm glad that we have this conversation today. So, Ben Cecchini, oh, that Italian last name, the sniper. You used to be Ben the Bridge, and that was one thing that I connected with you real strong on, because there's a sort of a bridge narrative for myself as well. So you were Ben the Bridge, now Ben.
Just BenCR.love is like the tag on
Ben Breathwork,
Benny Breathwork, basketball Ben here in Costa Rica, Ben the Beard, Ben La Barba in Espanol, a lot of different Bens, and that's kind of why, I still feel like a bridge in many ways, especially because I do a lot of coaching with kids in basketball and trying to bring a lot of these mental, emotional skills through the game of basketball. So being a bridge in that sense, just being a supportive bridge for anybody who might need support through the modalities I like to teach, or breathwork and mindfulness, or just conversation and coaching in that sense. But yeah, I still very much feel like a bridge. But I started realizing I'm just Ben. I'm really just Ben, and too bad that name's already taken on all social media platforms. But that's how I feel. Like, there's so many different sides, and I think to your point around men, needing to be emotionless or be this certain thing, or if you're a basketball coach, you can't be a musician and a life coach, or you can't be a personal or transpersonal psychologist and enjoy rap music. There's so many boxes that exist that we're totally, all of us are outgrowing them.
Right.
And I feel that same way with myself, which is why I started just putting more of all of me out there. The sad times, the joyful times, the singing, the playing, the even punting a basketball in practice. I don't have it all dialed in or all together, but I think that's human. Yeah. That's humanness.
That is human. And it's so many layers of you, and so wonderful. It's the more that you develop as an individual, the more complex you become, the more layers you get to add to yourself. You get to become Ben, the basketball Ben in Costa Rica, from through the development and all these things. So are you still doing the online format with kids for the basketball and skills?
Yeah, very much so.
Wow.
It's transitioned and it's grown, and so what Travis is referring to is we do virtual mental skills assemblies for elementary school kids all across the country, and we'll do one whole school at a time, so 100 to 1,000 kids, or we'll do a whole district at a time. And the largest online event that we had was like 7,000 for NBA All-Star Weekend. So when possible, and this is kind of the transition that we've made, is bringing in professional athletes that do meditation, that do breath work, that have gratitude practices, and just really take care of their mental health, to come in and put their stamp of approval on the educational and kind of entertaining way that we teach these skills when they're not there as well. So it's a really cool collaborative process. I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that while I'm down here. Like, it's really helped me. I mean, to this point, we've done impacted over 40,000 kids in the last 2-3 years, which is just super phenomenal. Like, I couldn't
2 to 3
dream it.
years,
Yeah.
over 40,000
it's
kids.
Really, it's special, man. It's a blessing. And it happened really because of COVID. We needed a way to deliver what we did out of person, just like so many other people, and it was it clicked. We have a small team. It's been 2 guys doing this for 5 years, and we had 1 kid showing up, 2 kids showing up to classes that we would put on, maybe 30 kids showing up to a camp or a clinic. And then it was COVID. Oh, dang, what are we gonna do? Impact way more.
Wow.
It was special. It still is.
That is real special. That's really amazing. So what do you think are some of the key skills that children need, or that you have found that children benefit most from? What's the key kind of beginning stages of this work?
Yeah, so when we started, I didn't really know much what I was doing in the mental health space. I knew I was working on myself and doing a lot of personal development. So I reached out to psychologists, to early childhood development experts, to school counselors, to people that were already doing this work and have their degrees and doctorates and all sorts of things. And so they directed us in some of the directions of skills. And you and I actually earlier today were talking about a guy, Graham Betchart, who's a mental skills trainer for the UConn's men basketball, for Utah Jazz. He's worked around NBA guys, and so he was a really big impact too. And he developed these 5 simple skills, all rooted in mindfulness, that he was hey, take these, run with them. They're not mine. Yeah, I've kind of created them, but they came to me. This is the universe's gift to me, and I want to share that with the world. So please take it and run with it. So we did, and those are positive self-talk, real simple, real straightforward. Be where your feet are, real simple.
I loved that
real
one.
straightforward. Look at us, we're here in the sand. Be where your feet are. What's important now? Win. Great question to ask yourself when you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed out and don't really know the next step for you. What's important now? See, breathe, do. Seeing with laser focus, seeing in HD everything that's in front of you, truly seeing. Because a lot of times when we're in the future and feeling anxious, or we're thinking of the past, we're not seeing what's here in front of us. Even in conversation, you can lose that connectedness of vision. Breathe, my favorite modality for me, and anxiety. Teaching belly breaths, just basic. And then doing is all about the energy. Anyways, what we teach, doing is all about the energy that you're doing it with. Are you doing it with passion? Are you doing it with love, with confidence, with joy, with just gratitude? And yeah, so those are a handful of the skills, and the ones that we got from more of the psychology, mental health experts were identify, accept, and manage emotions. So we turn that into I am, identify, accept, and manage. And I love to create music with this stuff. So identify, accept, and manage. Identify, accept, and manage. We use emotions to our advantage. And this is how we boost the planet. I am. So that's a little sneak peek for all you peeps out there. We'll be releasing it soon.
That is tight.
But the kids get into it. They can dance along. The songs stick in their brain long after we're gone. And that's the vision. And that's what's been working for us.
Right. Yeah. They get to play with it. And it's not complicated words neurocognitive processing or something like that. These kids aren't going to receive that, but they'll receive it in play, in
the energy.
It's so interesting how unconscious that will be for a lot of them. It'll be so programmed into them. They'll just be happy, healthy human beings. Maybe they will forget some of these moments. Maybe they will remember these specific moments for the rest of their life and become mental health trainers for others as well. That's really incredible. How did you decide initially to get into work like this with children? Have you always been kind of inclined towards helping children, or?
I come from a family of teachers. My grandmother was a kindergarten teacher, mother was a kindergarten teacher, sister is a music teacher, other sister is a professor, like true line of teachers. And then my dad's side of things, more like innovative, creative, but a lot of music,
more
snipers like dialed in really specific focuses. But he's kind of like the brains, and innovation. And so I feel like I'm a combination of all those things. And then me and my brother were the athletes of the family. It didn't really come from a family of athletes. And so it was like, how can I combine all the things that I love to do into one thing? And like, that's what I want to do for my life's work. Like everything that I possibly can jam pack, that's what I want to do. And after working in like the corporate sports world for Under Armour, for the Atlanta Hawks, I chose to go down and kind of do some soul searching in Ghana, and was training basketball, was living at a soccer academy, so kind of around sports, around young kids that were like trying to be the best they could, trying to really get scholarships to go to the States so they could get a good education and become pros and make a huge difference in their family's direction and their community back home. And it's crazy that a lot of kids are doing that where I lived. But I just felt that spark and that connection to the kids in those days, in those 3 months. And so I was like, man, I want to inspire millions to do this stuff. Yeah. And somebody had passed away, one of the kind of like managers of the soccer academy, the one that was helping the boys get their school supplies and get to practice, and he was just like hands-on with the boys. 27 years old, died of like a heart failure. And out of the blue, just one night while I was living there, and that really like sparked it, like this could be gone in a second. So what am I gonna do with this time? And when I went back to Baltimore, I started just ideating around like, how do I combine mental health? And met a guy, Ryan McFarland, who was a basketball trainer in Baltimore, and we had met in like a men's group, not a men's group, a men's basketball team, like a rec team. And he was loving the work I was doing and what I was creating, and I was loving his energy. And he's like one of those big energy guys, like brings it with him everywhere he goes. Like everybody loves Ryan, like smiles all day. And so we just started doing that together, like Starbucks, working it out, and came up with this vision and started doing these interviews with these different professionals, and also professionals on the basketball side of things. What are the fundamental foundation, even though we're both players, like we want to hear from D1 coaches and professional skills trainers. And then we just started combining it all together, and bit by bit had no clue what we were doing in a nonprofit world or a for-profit business, both of ours first business. And it's just like, just step by step, fail after fail after fail forward.
That's incredible. Yeah. On your Instagram, I saw like kids on Zoom calls and stuff, like having a great time.
Yeah. We were trying to make it the most fun experience that they've had on Zoom. Yeah, like that's what it was. And so
during
it's movement,
COVID,
music, and mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. And so now in Costa Rica, you coach kids teams as well in basketball?
Yeah. So it wasn't my vision. When I came down here, it's a big health and wellness community here in Nosara, Costa Rica. So I was like, I'm about to crush breathwork. There's like, how many, 50 to 100 breathwork facilitators in the area, you know what I mean? Like so much yoga,
yoga retreats galore.
All day, every day. And so I did do classes at first, but it was cool, but it wasn't me like fully. And I felt like I had to kind of be this like super spiritual, wearing my beads and that sort of thing, which there is that part of me, you know what I'm saying? There's that part of me inside, but it wasn't fully me. And then basketball hoops started being put up and within these past 3 years. And I was like, started hosting an after-school basketball program at the private school here that was open to the community, but hosted at this private school, Del Mar Academy. And then was like, this is my jam. Financially, it's abundant. Energetically, it's in alignment fully. I can bring the mindfulness stuff that I've been doing virtually and in person in Baltimore and in the States here to these kids. The community is going to appreciate that because they are a mindful, spiritual community. And so it's just really been like full alignment, and it's grown since then. Basketball has never been organized in this community, and here was the perfect lob, just by the universe for me through the courts, through that opportunity to just do what I love to do. And it's been amazing. Now I coach 4 teams here, and we're starting to do travel games, and as much as possible I incorporate the mental health side of things, and just my presence, I feel, brings that energy to the court.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, yesterday, frustrated as hell, punted a ball across the thing. So it's been a beautiful opportunity for me to grow too, and change how I grew up being coached. You know, the like fiery coach that's cussing kids out, and like those were my coaches growing up. So I have a piece of that with me, and I'm trying to shift it. I'm trying to change it, and what a beautiful opportunity for growth.
Yeah, that's amazing. God lobbed this opportunity to you, and you took it to the hole and slammed
Let's
that
go.
thing
I'm
in.
still working on the dunks, but we're flushing a couple of them. Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's really cool. So what caused the punting of the basketball?
Kids. Well, okay.
Kids are frustrating.
Combination. I don't want to blame the kids here, but the combination of the kids and my vision and my expectations of organization, of attention, paying attention when the coach is talking, not dribbling the ball, not talking, not just body slamming other kids during the practice. So it's been cool working with groups of kids from 8 to 16 and noticing that I was asked a question the other day, like, what do you feel like these kids need the most? And for me, it's been like that, slowing down. Like, we live in such a fast-paced world, and it's only getting faster. And I don't know that all of us are fully capable of operating at that speed all the time, or that it's effective in the classroom, or, you know, that I like, not necessarily diagnosing people, but that ADD. It feels like, I feel that for myself even, it's harder to pay attention now. And so that makes it harder to maintain the focus of a group of 8 to 12-year-olds. Very challenging.
Yeah. But they're being kids. They're playing.
Yeah, they're being kids. They're playing. They're doing their thing. So it's that. Those are the learning opportunities for me of like, okay, how can I improve the structure of these practices so that these kids can like, it helps their focus, versus like if we're doing the same thing for 10, 15 minutes, but it's working on a skill that's really important in basketball, but it's not fun and engaging, then like, okay, how can I make it fun and engaging? How can I shift some of these things, you know, to make it more playful?
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you do breathwork with them?
I have. I've sat down with them, not as much as I could. You know, honestly, there's like a hesitation to doing it for me. Like in person, there's like a fear of rejection from the kids, or fear of them just also kind of blowing it off and not paying attention. So it's been a challenge for me. But with the older groups of kids, I realized like I need to have a session with them where this is the focus. So for the 14 and under team, the 16 and under team, I started doing weekly sessions with them online very recently in the past month. And that's been a way better way to introduce it, where it's like, okay, when are we going to start playing now? Like, no, we're here for the mental skills side of things. And I'll share clips, same thing we do with the young kids, share clips of NBA players, of celebrities that they already look up to, talking about their journaling practices, talking about their meditation and gratitude practices, how they use mindfulness and breath work to help them perform and help them in life with their challenges. So that combination, it's still dialing in, but I found that to work really well.
Do you open and close the practice in a specific way with breathwork, or maybe
not with breathwork?
Maybe that would be a good opportunity.
I think it is. Yeah. I think it would very much be. So I appreciate that idea.
Yeah,
100%. We definitely end with reflection and showing other players love on the team. Hey, what did you notice about somebody else's game today that you enjoyed or appreciated? You know?
I like that.
But starting it off with a drop in, like, hey, setting the tone of focus, attention, and presence.
We always need like such a shifting into, you know, like being where your feet are.
Yep.
Where is the shift when practice starts to being where your feet are? Because these kids are coming from, you know, the busy TV and media, and like there's so much going on in their lives. They're coming to practice and they're just bringing all that busy energy to practice,
especially right after school.
It never really shifts, you know?
Yeah, especially right after school. You've been doing it all day, you've been listening to somebody all day, you've been bored all day, and now you finally want to move and get it out. with Give and Grow, we realized, okay, actually, rather than starting with like, all right, listen to me and we're going to ground and focus, get out the silly bugs, like get out some energy
100%.
first, but then pause and let's be grounded. Let's feel this shift in energy that we just experienced. I think
that sounds perfect.
Okay, well, sounds good to me. I'll be trying that next week.
That sounds perfect. That sounds really great. So the breath work, I was a part of your breath work online on Zooms. What got you into breathwork initially? Was these with coaches and players? You're seeing how powerful breathwork was for the athlete, and then you saw the opportunity to learn more about it. You're certified in a specific kind of breathwork. What is that?
Two different breathworks. Soma breath.
Soma breath
and elemental rhythm.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And I remember we did a lot of the Soma breath, I believe, to music, and there's a lot of this like. Kind of like a DMT activation, sort of. That's kind of like the themes of this kind of breathwork. So, tell me a little bit about Soma breathwork.
Yeah. So, how I got into it, kind of to go back to that point, was getting just like exploring meditation, really, and then finding breathwork through that exploration of meditation. Hey, I heard this stuff's good. I heard it works. I heard it's scientifically backed. I heard it's been around for thousands of years and worked for so many different people. And then I don't remember the specific moment, but I started doing Wim Hof. And it was a quick 15-minute practice. And I felt, there's like quotes and memes that say this, but it truly felt like how you think meditation's going to feel. Right, breath work, it like was the clear mind, it was the body activation. I'm feeling my hands and my legs and my arms, my whole body is activated and relaxed, but energized at the same time. And it's like, it got me out of my head and into my body. And I realized in those times, like how much in my head I was, like how much thinking goes on up there and how disconnected I was from my body. So breath work brought me in there, and then I'm like, this is awesome. Did a daily practice, moved down here, went to an ayahuasca retreat center with my wife, and I didn't even know what we were really getting into when we went there, but did a 4-day experience there. And afterwards, we did a breath work on the final day before we left for home. And during that breath work experience, I just felt this presence of some sort of like guide or just like this download, like, hey, take breath work, teach it to people, like really dive into this stuff. This is a great path for you. And so that's what I did. And that's when I got certified in Soma breath virtually down here. So about 3.5 years ago. And then another guy from Toronto, Gio, I can never pronounce his last name, but I'll just call him Gio, who's the founder of Elemental Rhythm. He came through to town here and was offering a training in his modality. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna jump in on that too. So now I have this cool balance of like Soma, which can be more activating, but can also be very like relaxing and more feminine energy, like, hey, we're going to get to this beautiful place of bliss and peace and grounded and meditation and through a more feminine approach, gentle. Or elemental rhythms, like, hey, we're going to turn this up like a Wim Hof practice, like some of those you'll find on YouTube, like the DMT, and like from there you get there fast, you get there masculine, and it's like I'm high on my own supply and I'm blasted off right now. And I really like both of the approaches. I like a middle approach. I like that you can experience through both of those modalities just the breadth of impact and the power that breath work can bring to your life. And so yeah, it's been the modality for me that I've found the most helpful. And I've gone off and on with a daily practice. Currently I'm on one, and it feels great every time I'm on one.
Love to be on one.
Yeah.
Love to be on one. I'm glad you're on one right now. What?
Drake's coming to mind.
Drake's coming to mind.
Fucking I'm on one.
Drake and Lil Yachty did a podcast like this.
There we go.
So that's funny.
There we go.
Breathwork is so powerful. It's so wild how, like if you think about it, like so much of your time is so busy and chaotic in relation to like a real experience of groundedness and peace and bliss and all of that.
Crazy.
And when you compare those two experiences of time unfolding, it's like it is so quick to just sit and breathe and get yourself grounded and to be present again. And we brush that off all the time during our lives. I'm gonna avoid that at all costs.
It's not aligned with a lot of what we grew up, at least I'll speak for myself, what I grew up like, go, 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 grind it out, go get the bag. Like, it's not fully in alignment with that until you realize that it really is. Like, it's really like, oh wow, this is gonna make my work and my life easier because I'm more mentally clear. I'm more present to be able to make a mindful decision on something versus letting that stress, anxiety, fear of not having money and not securing the bag driving the ship. It's like, no, all of my energy is present and now I'm better able to hit my work day and do stuff. It's not about living in this like airy woo-woo spiritual place with breath work. It's about potentially getting a taste of that and a piece of that and bringing it back down into your everyday life.
Love that so much.
And the thing for me with breath work too that I really fell in love with is a lot of it uses music in the background, which you alluded to, and that I found fascinating because I can bring it with me anywhere I'm listening to music. If I'm in the car listening to music, now I can breathe along to the beat of whatever song. Lil Yachty and Drake. I can breathe along to Beyonce's been stuck in my head all damn day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can breathe to that stuff, and it might not drop you into the deepest states of meditation, like meditative tones and chimes and flutes and that sort of thing might, but it's the bridge once again. Like, it might be the step from I'm just listening to Lil Yachty and Drake to now I'm using Lil Yachty and Drake as a practice of mindfulness and groundedness.
And present with the art of the music.
Yes, all of it. You might hear those little cymbals in the back or the hi-hat that you didn't really notice before you're present, and it totally, for me, amplifies my enjoyment of music as well.
That's awesome. I know that probably some viewers are experiencing anxiety to some degree, some levels. And when I was a child growing up, I felt very anxious in a lot of ways, in a lot of situations. And I had been diagnosed with asthma. And being diagnosed with asthma, I had been sort of afraid of my breath, afraid to push my lungs too far, too deep. Then I might have an asthma attack, I'll need my inhaler. I spent a lot of time in the nurse's office here and there. There's a lot of situations that made me so afraid of breath and therefore kept me so far away from presence. The more that I got into breath work, doing workshops like the ones with you on Zoom, the more that I did meditation and yoga and dropped into this physical vehicle and was just breathing with it, appreciating it, grateful for it, the less I had any issues with my asthma. I haven't used my inhaler in a year, maybe more than that, and before that probably a few years. So I hardly ever need to be so dependent on the inhaler anymore. I can now be trusting and reliant on the physical vehicle and the two lungs that God has given us. It's so important to relieve us from a lot of that pent-up anxiety.
Yeah, there's this guy, Patrick McEwen. He's the founder of Oxygen Advantage, which trains athletes on different breathing techniques. It's almost simulating high altitude training, just using different types of breath holds. He comes from a background of being trained by the founder of Buteyko Method. Buteyko Method uses breath holds, a series of breath holds and different other breathing practices to help with things like asthma. And they found success using just the breath and a specific way of breathing to help ease the symptoms of asthma, help people, I don't want to necessarily say cure it, but like really find relief from their asthma symptoms, like in a massive way, at a massive scale, science, research based and backed. So if you are experiencing asthma, I would say check out the Buteyko Method. It's not going to hurt. It's simple breathing exercises. You don't need, I don't want to say you don't need the medication, but this is their form of medication. And I've always found that interesting. I have a nephew that has asthma and have shared that with their parents, and I don't know how much they've used it or have necessarily trusted it, but I trust our body's ability to heal itself, and I trust the breath's ability to really drop us into a powerful healing process.
It's wild that you got to think that hundreds of years ago people had asthma, like people had breathing troubles. What did they do? They didn't have an inhaler, right? So an inhaler is, it's also in alignment with this psychopharmacology, or just the pharmaceutical industry as a whole. And so then it creates a dependency onto it. And I had always been, trying to go as many days without using my inhalers as possible. I had always been like, I'm not trying to use this every day. I'm not interested in that. And I think that helped get us on the right path. When we speak about breathwork, I want to make a shout out to Stanislav Grof, who's one of the founders of transpersonal psychology, a modern day father of a lot of breathworks. Breathwork has been going on for thousands of years in many different religious and spiritual traditions. I'm sure athletes in Greece and Rome are doing forms of breathwork. But Stanislav Grof put all of these pieces together, 3 hours of intentional breath work to evocative music that moves your emotions. You do it with partners. Have you experienced holotropic breath work?
No? I haven't ever done a holotropic session, and there's actually a school right up the road from here for it.
Really?
And it's like, how have I not?
You and your wife should do that together.
Boom.
Because it's always dyads. You have somebody that is the sitter. Somebody is sitting with the person doing the breath work, and then you are just, if you're doing the breathing, then you are just intentionally, and with all of the information, knowledge that you have gained with breath work in general, you're probably going to be able to get your system, meditation, breath work, all these things, like there's a certain aspect of dissolving to the practice, right? Like our bodies and we're kind of just like dissolved to the breath, to the rhythm, to the experience as it's happening. And with your skills in breath work already, you'll be able to drop in deeper than if you didn't have those skills. And there's all this kind of like imagery that can potentially come up for you, for sure. and it's unconscious material. Sometimes it's connected intergenerationally. People describe it that way. In a lot of ways, it could be similar to what is being done with those DMT, kind of the Soma breathworks, things like that. It can be similar to that, but it's just over this
3 hours long.
3 hours is so
deep.
long.
You're going deep.
You're going deep, and you just stay in it, as much as you are able to. It can be really powerful. So shout out to Stanislav Grof.
The OG, we called him the other day.
Yeah.
I think a big thing for him too is bringing it kind of to the Western world and getting some science behind it, or getting the science started on it.
Well, he was originally interested in LSD, so that's why I connected the DMT piece to it, because he was an early participant in LSD studies, and him and his wife Christina Grof at the time. I worked for an organization called the Spiritual Emergence Network. Christina Grof put that together. So she was all about the spiritual emergency, people having maybe an anxious experience or sort of a psychotic symptomology around their awakening or their spiritual experience, or something's happening to them in that way. She really focused on the spiritual emergency. He was interested in the LSD experience, and then they decided to kind of bring some of these pieces together, and in their marriage they had grown to do this together. Christina Grof has passed away for many decades now, but they together developed holotropic breathwork, and it's just 3 hours of breathing, evocative music, gives you a lot of experiential content that is coming from an unconscious place that may be connected in a lot of ways to the experiences of their LSD states and things like this.
I think I heard about that specific experience, that the LSD operation that he was potentially a part of, it sounds like real, like narcotic, the LSD operation. No, but like the
this
studies
is like
and things,
Albert Hoffman, the founder, and
like
stuff.
That it got shut down by like the government, that they weren't no longer able to use LSD in experiments and in treatments, so they had to find a new way to do it, and tapped into breath work.
Yeah. I wonder if anybody, maybe leave a comment. I would wonder, what is the history of why that become illegal? How did they decide early on? Who who snitched?
The biggest LSD user in the land. He's like, nah, I need this. I need this to level up on everybody else.
Somebody snitched on the gang, and now nobody gets to utilize these medicines. But my experiences with LSD specifically have been, there are pros and cons, but just to do psychedelic assisted psychotherapy in a safe space is really great. But to do other sort of modalities and practices that don't require substances is so important, so practical.
Empowering.
Yeah.
Empowering as hell, man. And I was for a long time like, I don't need any help. I'm just going to do it with me. And that's why it drove me to things like meditation and breath work. And then it started being like, well, everybody needs a little help. What do these other medicines have to offer? And give them a try. And then, like you said, what was the quote that you shared the other day? I really appreciate it. Like when you've learned what you need to learn, like.
Oh yeah, Alan Watts. Alan Watts spoke about psychedelic experience, and like it's okay for you to hang up the phone. You pick up the phone. You pick up the phone on the medicine. Maybe it's ayahuasca. Maybe it's mushrooms. Maybe it's whatever your experience is. You might pick up the phone. And it's okay to hang up the phone. You don't have to keep going back to it.
You learn your lesson, you get your information, you experience it, and then it's like, okay, that was it for me. And that's how I feel with ayahuasca.
Right.
4 nights in a row, it was like, and I haven't had the call to go back to it, but it was eye-opening and powerful and challenging and beautiful, and it was so special, man.
Love that.
So special.
I love that. So. Yeah, it's so amazing. So how did you decide to get to Costa Rica? You're originally from Western New York.
Shout out to Western New York. Everybody will say upstate. No, we're Western New York. The 716 knows. And
West Side. I always say West Side goes harder than the East Side.
Well, hey, I'm down for that in New York State. Yeah, and I'm on the West Coast here, so yeah, West Side.
West Side, baby. How did you get to Costa Rica?
So, my wife. Before she was my wife, before we started dating, I've known her since first grade. We met in first grade. Before we started dating, we've never dated until 29. So before we started dating, she was like, hey, just so you know, if we're going to start dating, when my lease is up in July, I'm moving down to Costa Rica and I'm going to teach English down there, and I'm not doing a long distance relationship, so you got to be down to come. And this was like the very first time I proposed dating to her. So I'm like, well, I want to try dating with you, so why not? July is 6 months away. We'll see if it works, and if not, you'll go on your way in July or whatever.
Man, shout out to wifey to start a relationship on the right foot, on like real understanding what you want, what you're looking for. Shout out to wifey.
Yeah, for that. 100%. So that was really cool, and I was like, sure, let's do it. And then COVID hit. We were quarantined together our first 6 months of dating, or longer than that, our first however long of dating, like 3 years, as long as the lockdowns were going on. And but then once the borders opened up in November of 2020, we moved down here. So we've been down here for 3 years, and it's been a journey, man. It is beautiful. Nature is beautiful. That's why most people come down here is like, I want to see the beach. I want to go back here to the rock and the bat caves. I want to go to the waterfalls and the hikes.
Yeah.
And you don't realize living down here, it's like the mechanic that you can trust is an hour and 15 minutes away. Mm-hmm. The hospital is the same distance. There wasn't a medical center at all when we first got down here. Now there's like an emergency center. So it's like all these little things you might take for granted, like they weren't here. You got to go for them. Like we got supermarkets and stuff like that, but being here in a tourist trap is like everything's twice the price. Yeah. We live in the most expensive place in Costa Rica because of all the health and wellness and the people that are attracted to that. And so there's so many challenges, there's so many beauties. I'm the only basketball coach here, which makes people really appreciate the work that I do and bring versus all the youth coaches back in the States that are just getting yelled at, and like refs are quitting the game because parents are being assholes, and the kids are not appreciating it either. So it's like, it's this very beautiful life and experience that, just like any path that you choose, comes with certain sacrifices and certain challenges. So, but I couldn't be more grateful for where we're at, and we plan to be here for a while.
Yeah, the community really appreciates your generativity too.
Yeah, they do so much, and that just reciprocation of gratitude is beautiful. And then on top of that, I've always wanted to live in a country. So it wasn't just me like blindly coming down here.
Sure.
It was very much aligned with an idea I had for myself. My sister lived in Colombia and in Ecuador for a combined 4 years. And I was like, that'd be awesome to live in a country and learn Spanish. And without even it being my plan, like Drake, God's plan coming. Drake, a lot of Drake. Shout out to Drake. You know, like of me coming down here. Now I'm coaching in Spanish, and it's broken, but the kids are teaching me and helping me through it, and it works. You know, it really works, and they see. I think a lot of people down here appreciate when us foreigners, us immigrants, you know, come down here and actually take time to learn the language, because it's not everybody that does that.
1,000%. Anywhere you're traveling, like learn some phrases, do your best to try to integrate with their languages is so important, because if you don't have communication, you're
screwed.
Why are you here? What are you even doing here if you're not even trying to communicate?
Yeah. And it's easy to fall in a little bubble though of just like all the other immigrants. And I use the word immigrants because Erica, my wife, she's like, why do we have a different name, like expats? Why do we have a different name? Like anybody else coming, especially a person of color coming to a new place, is an immigrant. But because we're white, we have expat tied to it. It sounds better. We're not immigrants. We're totally immigrants down here.
That's hilarious. I mean, the labels and things like this is so. It so doesn't align with me. Labels and these boxes that people put themselves in. I'm like, all of this. It's, you know, some of the words like immigrants or some of the boxes are created maybe for intelligent purpose, but the integration sometimes requires us to get rid of these labels, get rid of these things, because the labels, sometimes the labels, shout out to anybody that is really a part of the LGBT community, but even some of these things, and man, I'm gonna get cut off the air for this. It's just like even some of these things, we have to be careful. We have to be really intelligent about not creating labels that further divide us as human beings from one another, and immigrants is that's one of them that you're experiencing right now. But so during the pandemic, there was the George Floyd thing that happened. That was really intense. I was living in San Jose, California. It's a fairly big, you know, kind of the capital of Silicon Valley, and there was riots outside. I live right in front of City Hall, so this is where all of the protesting happens and was happening. I went outside. I didn't even know that this had happened. I went outside to go to the grocery store. The grocery store is right across the street from me, right next to City Hall. And I go over to the grocery store, and for the next couple of hours, I can't get back into my apartment because there's so much protest happening. Got hit with tear gas and all kinds of stuff because kids are throwing rocks at police cars, all kinds of things. But then you, over Zoom, decided to do a project of sorts. I was doing something that I had learned from my clinical experience, that I was doing some content around this, and too, just to be informative and things. You had done a Zoom group around like the Black Lives Matter content and things like this. Well, what was that about? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, man, damn, I haven't thought about that group specifically since like that time. I like forgot that I kind of put that together. It was a book club to read a book called Me and White Supremacy, which walks you through just like a lot of exercises and practices to become more aware of stuff that might be unconscious.
Do you remember the name of the author of that? Is that older white woman?
No, I believe she's a black. Yeah, she's a black woman.
Do you know I'm talking about there's a white woman that
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. She's awesome.
She is awesome. But Me and White Supremacy, that was the book.
Is the name of the book. And yeah, we had a Zoom group that would just like explore this stuff together and be able to talk about it and share like the different pieces from that book, and it was powerful, man. And being married to a black woman, it was definitely important for me to take a look at it, and definitely growing up. I mean, not just because of this, but I've always been passionate about how to even say it, like around people of different races and backgrounds. Growing up in Jamestown, New York, and a lot of my friends and teammates were Black and Hispanic, and I loved them. I still do love them, you know, and I've always had love for my friends and people of all different backgrounds and things, and so it was important to like dive into that, and I was definitely finding out things about myself, like, oh shit, like there's a lot to learn here. There's still so much to learn here, and yeah, it was definitely helpful in me in my growth process.
Yeah, and it was helpful for me as well, being a part of the group, reading the book, and for you to see something that is helpful for your practice and continue to share it along your journey. Along your journey, the breath work is helpful for me. I'm going to share it.
Right.
The basketball, the skills, I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
There's this opportunity to learn more about white supremacy, about white privilege, and these concepts, these social stigmas, these issues, these social issues, and I'm going to share it.
Right.
And it's so awesome of you. It's like it shows such a beautiful place of where your heart's at. And I really appreciate that.
I really appreciate you saying that. Just to pause in that, because yeah, man, that's my big word this year, my 33rd year. The word, I was like, what's my kind of intention? The word share, and so I got the chills when you shared that. So thank you, man.
Absolutely, I see that about you. You're continuing to put yourself out there and share. And that's really great. I resonate with this. I always wanted to be integrated into really diverse spaces, because if I wasn't in a very diverse space, if it felt like just not diverse enough or to some degree, and I'm originally from Iowa, so a lot of spaces were like this, I always felt like kind of outside, isolated in some way, because my first language is American Sign Language. Viewers of this know that. So my mother is deaf, and that gave me like another identity of coda, and coda made me at times feel like I couldn't connect with anybody, because I'm not meeting anybody that American Sign Language or deaf culture was a part of their upbringing. And then my last name is Gray. Gray transforms. It's this integrative aspect is what allows us to prosper, to transform, to become more than the sum of the parts. You know, we are not just adding in people for the numbers. When we add in people, there is socially, spiritually, something is created in that connecting with one another that takes us to the next level. And when I say us, I'm talking about human beings, like human beings all over the world. Like we are in a modern day, we're thinking forward. We're always thinking about like how technology is pushing us and forward and things like this. But, you know, how can we also evolve and ascend and transcend socially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and I love this time that we are in. Our generation has a big responsibility in taking on the torch of this in our world. Like in the next 60 years, however long we're living on the earth, we have immense responsibility to continue to share the being like kind of the first generation integrated into the age of information. We have such a immense responsibility and opportunity to lead the world in beautiful places, in our individual communities, on bigger scales, on smaller scales. It's really important what 100%. You do and what you've done.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we do. It is a big responsibility. At times it's really challenging as like a teacher, a coach, you know, to be like, dang, like I punted that ball in front of these kids, you know.
They saw that.
They saw that.
Yeah.
I'm fucking up. Yeah. You know, like it feels like that at times, and it's like, you know, it's not going to be necessarily an overnight thing. We're bringing baggage from the generations and ancestors and generations before, and so just like that slow process of like nature never rushes, but everything's always accomplished. You know, like it's true. It's these baby steps, and taking it slow. Yeah. And I think that's where real change comes in, and that's why another reason I love mindfulness and breathwork practices is like it's slowly making changes to ourselves and everybody we interact with.
That feels like it comes full circle in our conversation. We hit all the elements in it because it's, take it slow, share, be present, be where your feet are, breathe. I am. What was the I am?
Identify, accept, and manage.
Identify, accept, and manage. You have to slow down for that.
Yeah.
And you're in Costa Rica. That just moving to a place like this feels in some way like a slowdown, or just really living in a place of presence. Pura Vida, right?
Yeah,
the Pura Vida. And it's a beautiful place. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and connecting with me. My birthday was the other day.
Yeah,
And
heck yeah.
you showed
Salsa
up on my
night,
birthday.
baby.
Salsa night, that was tight. And now we're at this really amazing black sand beach. This is where you said that more than 50% of the sea turtles in the world come to this beach.
That's my understanding, and if it's not more than 50%, it's hundreds of thousands of turtles, to be very accurate and correct.
Right.
Yeah, like crazy numbers of turtles. Their babies are being hatched. We got eggs actually like around us from the hatchings, and it's a very special beach.
It's amazing. So thank you for sharing with me this conversation. Thank you for sharing with me this beach, your home, and is there anywhere that you want people to go to continue to follow your work and follow the things that you're doing? Because I know that you have so much to offer, so much to generate and put out into the world, and I'm happy to be with you, brother. I'm happy to be following you in that journey.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the space to share what I've learned and the bits that hopefully are helpful to other people out there. And if you want to stay tuned or just get connected, my Instagram handle right now is bencr.love. I can't promise it'll be that forever because I'm constantly changing that thing. I don't know why, but it's part of my journey apparently.
You're rebranding
every time,
that's fun.
every 3
fun.
years about. So bencr.love.
For the next 3 years.
Yeah, and that's and that's my website as well. You can just type that in your search bar and it'll take you to my website. So
bencr.love.
Yep.
BenCostaRica.love.
Ben Costa Rica, Ben Cecchini Ramos.
Yeah.
Multi-purpose.
That's right. I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Travis.
Well, thanks for
Appreciate
this conversation,
you, man.
brother.
Let's get it.